So my name is Raman Malhotra. I'm part of the Mariana Crew Recovery Project. I help run the project with Sarah Fagery, and we are part of the University of Washington. And so our role is essentially to run the wild monitoring of the birds, to keep an eye on them and see how the recovery is going. We are actually rota-based, right? So we live on the island. The entire project is there. We're cautiously optimistic, I want to say, because for the last several years, certainly looking at the data for like the last 6 years, they've been slowly increasing. It's not much more every year, but it's a little bit. We have more mating pairs every year. We have more birds every year. And we have a pretty good idea of how many birds there are because we have been, in the last few years, we've been able to, if you ever see an aga, you'll notice that on their legs, more than likely there will be these little colored bands that we have put on them. So we try to color band them. And the last few years, we've managed to get about 95% of them color banded. And that's important because it lets us keep track of how many birds there are in the population, how many mating pairs, how they're doing. It's much easier when you can tell the individual bird, right? Because every bird has a unique combination. So we know kind of who each of those birds is, and so so we're able to monitor them quite well because of that. And they are slowly doing better. They're still, compared to their historical numbers, they're a lot lower. But they do seem to be increasing, at least over the last 6 years.
Dr. Kaylee Swift. I work for the University of Washington. She, her pronouns. I live and work on Tinian. I've been there for 4 years, and that entire time I've been focused only on one bird, which is the Tinian monarch. And the reason for that is that monarchs are actually endemic to Tinian. So we have, DFW has done some translocation up to Guguan, but in general, this is the only island that you can find these birds, so they're very special. They were previously listed under the Endangered Species Act from 1970 to 2004, and so they're a priority species. They're one that we don't want to see fall into a big decline, and so to prevent that, we need a lot of information about their natural history. And so for the past 4 years, a lot of our work has focused on reproductive success. So things like what causes nest failure and how many times do they renest, and if a nest fledges a young, meaning the chick successfully gains flight and leaves the nest, do we continue to see it? Does it survive? So this talk was focused then on kind of the next step in that process, which is looking at, okay, how much space do monarchs require? What is their territory and home range? And I didn't define it in the talk, but I will here. The difference between those two terms, territories are areas that animals actively defend versus home ranges are the whole area that they might use, right? So if we see a bird singing, that's an area it defends, but maybe it kind of goes a little over here. Hopefully its neighbor doesn't catches it, so then that would be kind of its home range. So the work that I was sharing here looked at territory size and home range size across Tinian's 3 main forest types, which is, of course, our native limestone forest, our sort of invasive Tongan dominated forest, and then everything else that's forested, and we consider that secondary forest.
Hafide Zantiro, I'm Alexi Rabanag, and I was hired by Tonu Tasi Zantoru to assist in planning and organizing this year's 2025 Mariana Islands Conservation Conference. I am currently a student of the Northern Marianas College. I feel incredibly fortunate to be in a room full of scientists, and so yes, I'm here to help, but also to learn about how I could better inform my community or even assist in any way through education and collaboration.